Hello, beautiful souls. So before we dive in today with what I'm going to share, I want to express a trigger warning. What I will be sharing does touch on some sensitive sexual honesty, and it is a sharing of intimate experiences and relationship dynamics that may be uncomfortable or perhaps even triggering for some people to receive. So please, if you feel that this is something that you are not comfortable with, don't continue with watching this video unless you feel really ready and open to receive. And I just want to put it out there that I am not a man hater. That is absolutely not the intention of this video. And also, I am not sharing this in any kind of way to shame my ex. It's not about that at all. There is absolutely, I don't hold any hatred, any grudges, or any blame. It's not about that. The reason and the intention behind me sharing this, because trust me, I've had multiple conversations with my higher self going back and forth of, should I share this publicly, or should I keep this to myself? And my higher self kept saying to me, you should share it publicly. And the reason for this is, as I've spoken about a few times recently, is that we are moving into an age where in order to really transform and change and evolve and move forward, we have to find our voice. We have to free our voice, and we must allow each other the space to express ourselves freely. So this is what I'm doing. And of course, for me, there are parts of this that are going to feel very uncomfortable for me to share, but at the same time, very liberating. And if you want to get a bit more, even more of a backstory around why I'm sharing this, please watch my most recent Wondering and Pondering video about what is karma, and it explains the reasoning behind the writing of this letter and why I'm sharing it. So I have shared it with a close friend, but I really felt that some of the teachings that I'm moving into about sensuality and about expression and empowerment and transformation is going to involve me sharing some things that are uncomfortable. And like I said, me sharing this doesn't cause me any kind of trauma. Me sharing this is liberating my voice and my emotions that were suppressed for 3 years. So that's what I'm doing. And I just want to say right away that this is a free channel for me to express. So I do not give consent to anyone shaming in the comments. I do not give consent to any hateful comments or people telling me what is right or wrong about this. That I do not give consent to that. If you want to share in the comments how this made you feel, what your relationship experiences have been, how it feels for you to share your voice in a relationship, please do. All I hope that this letter, apart from probably triggering and sparking some sensitivity in some people, I hope that it may help to inspire and empower others to use their voice and to set them free. So I think that's all that I wanted to say. This is coming from a place of love and of liberation and of allowing myself to release all of the suppressed grief and pain that I was unnecessarily holding on to because I had not given my voice an outlet. And yeah, just sharing this with so much love. And, I fully understand that being on the receiving end of something like this may not feel great. But at the same time, if someone did the same for me and expressed what they wanted to tell me throughout the relationship, I would not be offended by it. Okay? And this is the kind of honest communication that I really want to support and inspire. All right. So here goes, and I'm reading you the handwritten version of a letter to my ex. And this is going to remain anonymous, so I won't be naming any names. It's not about that. It is just giving my voice the freedom to express. And then after this, I'm going to burn this letter and the cords will be cut. That karmic pattern will be ended. All right, here we go. I am writing this letter to finally and fully release all remaining unexpressed emotions, words, and feelings that I have been holding onto. I hold no anger towards you, and I no longer blame myself. All that is left is raw, unfiltered truth. This relationship was a karmic trap, which I fell right into, like Alice falling down the rabbit hole. I fell under the spell of tattoos and all of the exterior, telling myself that you were my teenage dream. I ignored every red flag along the way and allowed you to convince me that you were kind and a nice guy. Even our first date was full of red flags. I came to where you lived. You didn't offer or even pay for the food we had. You were all over me physically, kissing me, biting, touching my body without consent. I said that I didn't want to sleep together, but in my drunken stupor, I allowed it to happen as you wormed your way in. I don't remember any interesting conversations, but I was already hooked on that intoxicating feeling that our souls were familiar. When in hindsight, looking back, every cell in my body was screaming, "Run! It's a karmic trap." When you said you wanted to see me again, my abandonment wound lit up like a glowworm, and I felt all warm and fuzzy inside. From then on, every date was the same. I came to stay with you, takeaways or local food, then spending hours watching movies or TV. There was no romance, no devotion, no grand gestures, no chase, no emotional intimacy. Why did I settle for this? Then the excessive drinking became obvious. You were living the London lifestyle, daily drinking and socialising, late nights and lay-ins, hangovers and unhealthy food, the quintessential toxic life. However, you didn't do any drugs, so I told myself that it was okay. After 2 years of having been in total sobriety and spiritual discipline, any sane woman would have run 1,000 miles in the other direction. But instead, the pull of the karmic trap lulled me back into a life I had worked so hard to leave behind. We were seeing each other regularly and the cracks began to show. But no matter what, I was clinging on desperately to your potential. Within the first month of seeing each other, you told me that I was sex mad for wanting intimacy once a week when we saw each other. And then you called me a drama queen for expressing that I was upset about the comment. I would drive down to London to see you and would be waiting hours for you to come home from work as you prioritize drinking with friends over spending time with me. There were never any gestures of kindness, no gifts, no flowers. You never took me out for dinner unless I practically begged, and you complained about having to pay for things. You went away to Mexico and expressed how much you missed your ex and how in love with her you were, without any regards for my feelings. And yet you wouldn't talk to me about it. I asked you if you were truly ready to get over her and move on, to put away the shrine from her funeral. You said yes, but deep in my heart, I knew it wasn't true. You started making an effort to come and see me in Oxford. You charmed my mum by buying her an expensive bottle of wine. Everything was about appearances with you. Where were my gifts? I asked you why you never went down on me, and the next morning you did, so I felt rewarded. After 6 months, you said you wanted to move in together. And the wounded little me was so overjoyed at the idea of living with a man, so I agreed. Obviously, it was too soon. I was desperate to get away from living with my family, but we had not established any moral foundations. My life was not made any easier by you. You didn't take care of the rent or the bills. Everything had to be even. And you even dismissed any comment or other ideas I had about this. I was working 2 jobs, stressed, broke, and began drinking all the time. Anxiety was constant, and I started totally losing grip of my true self and my spirituality. You didn't like or make an effort to spend time with my friends, but I was expected to hang out with yours, which always involved heavy drinking and meaningless conversation. When I told you I was stopping drinking, you made me feel guilty rather than support me. We always had to watch what you wanted to watch and listen to the music you liked, regardless of how much I expressed that I didn't like it. You did not respect me, and so I stopped respecting myself. Anything you didn't agree with or understand, you would label as a bit weird, causing me to shut down further. I started to look forward to the weekends when you would go away so I could have time to myself to reconnect. I've never felt less attractive and less comfortable in my sexuality than I have when I was with you. You started refusing to give me oral pleasure, suddenly announcing that it had never really been your thing, and you refused to even talk about it. You never looked at me when I was naked. You never showed any love or appreciation for my body. You never expressed any passion or any enjoyment for giving me pleasure of any kind. My body quickly shut down. I stopped getting excited. I started getting irregular pains and bleeding. My womb was literally calling out to me. I stopped wanting sexual intimacy about a year into our relationship. Moments of intimacy became less frequent and more painstakingly numb and transactional. I knew for a long time that I wasn't happy, but I wasn't strong enough to stand up for myself and end things. Now, the toxicity was insidious, because on the surface, you were a nice guy. And as far as I'm aware, you never cheated on me and were never violent towards me. But you are a zero-effort man. You cast me in, and then you stopped trying. The small comments and actions of disrespect slowly and sneakily chipped away at my sense of self. The final straw was in the summer of 2024, when you and your friend got disgustingly drunk in my home and disrespected me multiple times, with no apology in the moment or afterwards. From that day, it was over. I wanted to leave, but I had to stay. Because of the lease on our house, I was trapped in the relationship. Every month that led up to April 2025, I became more repelled by you and more excited to leave. Breaking up with you was a celebration, a coming home to my soul, a monumental sigh of relief. Thank you for allowing me to see this karmic pattern of fatherhood wounding so loudly and so clearly that I will never fall into it again. Thank you for giving me this ending. Thank you for showing me how I never, ever choose to be treated again. And thank you for helping me to recognize my self-worth, the power and the sacredness of my sensuality, and the importance of my moral foundations. Goodbye, God bless, and fuck off.